Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, May 11th, which means that it is Mother's Day on the Gregorian calendar. Well, I wanted to thank you all for joining me on this Mother's Day and listening to the sound of wisdom, and I hope that you all get something um, out of what I'm going to share today. And uh, and what I wanted to talk about was um, particularly aimed at empaths, us that have lived a very troubled childhood, and some of us that continued on with that troubled childhood. In my case, marrying the same abuser as my biological dad. Um, it it becomes difficult to function in society. It, there's a lot of things that can create a fight or flight or freeze um, state of mind for us. And and that's because we actually developed a very strong ethical um, code of conduct, very strong ethical um, awareness as children because of the mistreatment that was done to us. And so, uh, and so there's a lot of stuff that we have to stay away from because we just can't process the information um, uh, in the right state of mind without making the wrong decision, if that makes sense. So there's 13 things that have been noted that cause empaths to stumble. Um, the first thing on the list is not having enough free time or unscheduled time. As empaths, we tend to overbook ourselves, we overschedule ourselves, we overcommit, and that comes from a childhood of distress where we didn't have much balance. And so because we didn't have much of any balance, um, then we began to um, disassociate what that should look like, why we need time to ourselves. So the first thing that we need to do is become grounded in a solution, and we need to take some things off our schedule. We need to remove some of those commitments. However, because we do have a very strong ethical drive, it's very important that if we have committed to something, or we have committed to several things, that we try to achieve all of those things. And then from there, we don't overcommit. And the reason that that's so important is because then if we cancel on someone, um, being an empath, we tend to stress about what we didn't do. And so that's very important as well that we finish what we have committed to doing, what we have said we are going to do, and then in the future just not committing ourselves to so much. The next thing is, as an empath, is number two is existing in a chaotic home or in a chaotic workplace. Um, if your truck or car that you drive to work every day looks like you live out of it, that's a problem. Because you see this clutter and you know um, that it's not right, that It is dangerous having lots of loose stuff in your vehicles. It's dangerous to your other passengers. And so we are aware of this, even if we are not consciously thinking about it, we are aware of our reaction to seeing this stuff. We are aware of what the potential outcome could be. And so it's very important that we keep our spaces clean, keep our vehicles clean, keep where we live clean. Um, and uh, and again, I know that if we live in a um, oops, I just pressed something. Sorry about that, folks. Hopefully, all didn't cut out. Anyway, if we live in a lot of cluttered space and stuff, we just have a tough time processing that information and processing it correctly. So keep your space clean around you. Keep your vehicles clean. Keep your workspaces clean, and then it will be not so frazzled, if you want to use that term, especially for an empath. Number three is overworking. Overworking happens a lot because again, we weren't raised with any structure. We weren't raised. We were raised with narcissists. My son is being raised by a narcissist right now, and so you don't know how to um, balance that time, work with play, with doing other stuff. And I'm the worst at this. I'll be the first one to say, I'm the worst at overworking. And so, for me, having my son was the most eye-opening experience for me because then I was able to recognize that I needed to take some time off, which of course then that drove my ex crazy because she was a narcissist. She was never attracted to me. She was attracted to my checkbook. And so having me home, having structure in my life, irritated her beyond all belief, beyond all recognition. And of course, I didn't know that at the time. So not overworking is very important. Try not to overwork. Number four is bottling up your emotions. Find ways to vent or express those emotions, um, whether it's by yourself or whether it's um, other people's emotions that you have collected. Um, find something that is soothing and relaxing, and that's very important because if you don't, again, particularly empaths, they'll turn to some sort of addiction or they'll turn to some sort of substance abuse to try and alleviate that stress, alleviate that energy that builds up inside them, and so they get um, so they get excited, and then that feeling of fight or flight or freeze begins to work in that empath. And then pretty soon, whatever decision they do end up making is not usually right. Um, but given what they have been through, that's about the only thing they could do. So, number five, and I think this is the most important, and this is the most important for everyone, is experiencing extreme financial pressure. Don't go into debt. If you can't afford that new truck, well, buy a used truck. If you don't need a truck, buy a car. They're cheaper. Um, just get rid of any debt that's not necessary. And I understand times are tough, and I'm right there with y'all, but um, learn to, we have to revert back to, especially us empaths. There's nothing unethical or dehumanizing about riding a bike to work as opposed to buying a car. If you live close enough to work and are able to do that, then go for it. Sometimes riding a bike a mile to work, it's 2 miles a day. That's not that much. I do that on my bike to work. So with that being said, it's not dehumanizing or anything like that, to just ride a bike to work as opposed to paying for that car. Again, being an empath, having too much stress over our head creates that fight or flight or freeze mode to where you are unsure of what to do. And then everything becomes frazzled and chaotic in your life. Number 6, this one is good as well. This one's really good. And of course, it falls in line with what we just discussed in number 5, ignoring physical health. And the reason that I say that it falls in line with number 5 is because I still see a lot of people around me that they drive their car, 5 blocks to work, even a mile to work. And I'm not saying that they have to ride their bike every day, but you would be getting physical exercise with riding your bike on top of getting that um, um, getting that peace of mind, not taking the car to work every day. You're stepping back, you're seeking more balance. And honestly, it doesn't take that much longer to ride a bike to work than it does to drive a car, especially in the city. So, so prioritize your physical health. Eat as healthy as you can. Your body is receptive. Your body tells you what it needs and what it doesn't need. And, when you have a natural aversion to something where you're not wanting something, or you're wanting something but you don't know what you're wanting, and you know just listen to that, to what your body is saying. It's telling you what it's really needing. I'm not going to get into the diet side of things because I'm not I'm not really big and educated on that side of it, but I know for my own body, it tells me what I need and what I don't need, and unfortunately for me, it's I drink a lot of coffee, and that's about it. But anyways, so number 6, ignoring physical health. We don't want to do that, especially as being an empath. We need physical health. Number 7, ignoring mental health issues, like anxiety and depression. We need to reach out to professionals, and we need to reach out to loved ones to get help when we need it. It's not that we are weak, and I want to stress that because as empaths, we are stronger than 98% of the population because of what we have been through as a child. So, with that being said, um, we we can recognize that reaching out and talking with someone who maybe can empathize with us or relate with us or maybe just hear us and understand us does wonders, because you're just reaching out to someone who has, you know either gone through the same things as you or at least understands the same things as you. And I want to stress, be careful reaching out to loved ones because as an empath, you still might be blinded by the fact that your loved ones are narcissists. As empaths, we naturally draw narcissists to us. And the family dynamic, when you're raised by a narcissist, if you reach out to a sibling, chances are one or two of those siblings have turned into a narcissist. And if you're the black sheep of the family, then that means that you're the empath because that narcissist did not like you. And so with that being said, you want to be careful sharing too much with loved ones. Seek a professional, seek someone who can empathize, someone who can relate with you. And as we talked about my coffee consumption, now we're going to talk about number 8, overindulging in stimulants and depressants. Alcohol, sugar, drugs, caffeine, anything like that. If we don't use self-control and not overindulge in those particular items, then what happens is our energies again within our body are now off. We're now twisted, and we don't know how to process that. We don't know how to deal with that. So knowing your own personal limits and then being strong enough to say, no, I don't need that chocolate candy bar, even though I really like it. I don't need it right now. And so if you can develop that mindset of stopping yourself and saying, no, that's not going to happen, then that's what we need to do is we need to develop that strength to stop and not overindulge. Because again, that's a trigger for an empath. It triggers that fight or flight or freeze mode, that state of mind that you don't know how to get out of. um, the other thing is number 9, and this is a big one that especially empaths do, is we're always supporting a loved one. We're always supporting a child, an elderly parent, a struggling friend, a sibling, and we do it to no end. We do it without breaks. And when you're constantly absorbing that family member or that friend's negative energy, you don't have any way of dispersing it. So then it gets built up inside you, and again, it creates that fight or flight or freeze state of mind. And so you have to take time to retreat. You have to take time to recover, and you have to take time to just turn off that cell phone. Um, if you live alone, great. If you don't, just go to your room and just be by yourself. Just don't talk to your family members, don't talk to your roommates, whatever. Take that time to just reflect in on yourself, reflect. And when I say reflect in on yourself, I don't mean sitting in front of the computer or sitting in front of your cell phone looking at Facebook or whatever. I literally mean just take the time to sit and be by yourself and just relax. Um, Sometimes reading a good book can help. Um, but again, you want to be careful that you're not releasing that negative energy. So don't read a murder mystery novel or don't read you know, a book that's stimulating in the mind. If anything, look at pictures of horses, get a horse book or a biology book of some sort, and plants, animals, and just do something like that, just so that it needs to be paper. Don't look it up online because you'll be, you know, distracted with the next advertisement online. So that's why you want to have some like good books in your house that you can just read without any distraction, and they're on one topic. You know, if it's a book of horses, it's just going to be about horses or whatever it may be. So that's very important, that as empaths, we don't absorb all of that and then not get rid of it. All right, number 10 um, is downplaying, hiding, or masking our own emotional experiences to protect someone else's emotions. Um, so a narcissist, which again, I'll use my marriage as an example. My ex used to tell me all the time, well, you know, there's something wrong with you. There was something always wrong with me. And so I got to the point where I was like, yeah, she's right, you know. I need to buck up. You know, I need to, you know, not let it affect me. I need to. But that's not the answer, because when she's moving out of my house because God told her to marry her ex-husband and not me, that doesn't have anything to do with my childhood. That doesn't have anything to do with me as a person. That has everything to do with how she is treating me. So you need to learn not to downplay what someone else is telling you and promote someone else's emotions, someone else's theories, someone else's. Because in any marriage, in any relationship, especially, you know, that can't be tolerated. You're not going to be put down and have someone's ex-spouse put above you. That's not right. And so you need to get honest with yourself. You need to get honest with others, and 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 develop a set of morals, a set of ethics that you already know is correct, that you already know is right. And if that other person can't accept them, then recognize, why can't that other person accept them? Well, chances are they're not on the same plane as you. They're not on the same dimension as you. They're still stuck in the, you know, the Stone Ages where it's, um, um, where it's take all, and if it's not given, then, then take it anyway. And the narcissist attitude that it's all for them. And so you just have to realize that no, it's not that what you have gone through is less than what someone else has gone through, and your emotion is maybe not less than what someone else's emotion is. Um, and then put your foot down on that. Once you do that, then you can get out of that fight or flight or freeze mode. You can get out of that state of mind where you're like, I don't know what's right, because I just told this individual that, yeah, maybe they were right, but now I don't know whether they were right. And you can kind of see where it creates a lot of confusion to where you don't know right from wrong. But the interesting thing is, as an empath, we know, our gut knows what's right and wrong. But because of that other person whom we believe is better than us, we hold their statements, we hold their quote morals or lack thereof to a higher standard, and we need to not do that. All right. Number 11 is not admitting when our emotional system is overwhelmed and our nervous system is overstimulated. And this one's a big one. It's actually a big one for me too. It's tough for me to um, to process and deal when I know that I am overwhelmed or that I am overstimulated. And And then it's a problem for me to admit it. It's a problem for me to talk to people about it. And again, the best solution is to go into your room, go to the park, just go someplace where you can be by yourself to just kind of reflect. How am I overwhelmed? Why am I overwhelmed? Why am I overstimulated? Why is my nervous system overstimulated? And, and come up with a solution. And the most important thing is just to admit to your family members, hey, I need the weekend to myself, or I need this time to myself. And and in that way you can course correct, basically, um, and heal yourself. All right. Well, I'm almost through these, so thank you all for listening. I appreciate you tuning in on a Mother's Day. And again, for all you mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. All right, so number 12, being exposed to lots of chemicals and additives to our air and our food and our makeup and our cleaning products and all that stuff. Um, Especially with an empath, we are so in tune with nature. We are so in tune with the world around us, um, that having excessive chemicals, having excessive, um, additives and that sort of stuff is very bad for us. And I actually recognized this quite a while ago because I'm what I like to call a very vanilla person. Like I don't like hot food. I don't like cold food. I just like it room temperature. I don't like spicy food. I just like it vanilla. Just a bland, flavor. Um, that's that's the type of person I am, is very non-chemical, very non. And I think what happens is, especially as empaths, we tune in as a child so much to our senses, that it's easy to overwhelm our senses with even, say, pepper or salt. And so once we have overwhelmed our senses, then it becomes a problem with that fight or flight or freeze. Our senses are so overwhelmed that they don't know what to do. They don't know how to process that information. So again, we want to make sure that we are aware, of our surroundings, and recognize that there's a lot of chemicals in food, and there's a lot of chemicals and all that stuff, and we don't need any of it. Um, we want to keep as basic and clean as we possibly can. And that includes our internal body as well. Fasting is really good for us empaths. Taking a day and abstaining from any food. If you are able to do it, obviously, if you're a diabetic, I do not want to encourage that. But if you are able to do it, then I really encourage that type of behavior as well, because that's helped me a lot. Number 13, last but not least, having the expectation of perfection from yourself or imposed on you by others. This is a big one, and I would say that it's also a big one for me because um, these I get very disappointed when I can't install a perfect HVAC system. I can't do a perfect system. And that shame actually comes from a deep rooted, not finding acceptance as a child, from those around me. But I also I also recognized that, you know, that I just wanted it to be right. Every job that I want to do, it's never good enough. And every job that I've done, it's never good enough. And and then of course if someone puts me down for that and says, yeah, you didn't do a good job or you didn't do something right or whatever, then of course it distracts and it creates that state of mind of fight or flight or freeze because I already believed that I didn't do a good enough job. And so then when someone comes in and says, yeah, you didn't do a good job, then it creates that state of mind of shock, that state of mind of stuck. You're stuck. So the best thing to do is to continue to excel, to continue to grow as an individual. And in your profession, yes, we need to learn, especially as an empath, we need to do whatever job that we are doing, we need to do the best that we possibly can. But then we also have to recognize that this is not a perfect world, because if this was a perfect world, there would not be rust, there would not be cancer, there would not be decay, there would not be death. So we recognize that there is a problem with this world, and that we need to not worry so much about it, but we need to do the best job that we possibly can. And then that way we don't have to think about it in the future. Basically, it's about having some realistic expectations for ourselves. So, at any rate, um, I just want to again say Happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there. I want to thank you all for tuning into my show, and and yeah, I hope that you have found this podcast helpful. Oh, I do have a website now. It is etuw.org. So that's etuw.org. So basically, it's enlightenment through understanding wisdom .org. It's the initials for my podcast here. There you can find my email as well as my information, my contact information. I hope to have a location set up here very soon so that I can see local people and even people who are willing to come across the country to learn, to grow, to heal, and talk with an empath who can relate. So at any rate, so that's the exciting news that I have for y'all. As always, look forward to next week's podcast. And look forward to my co-podcaster. She will be joining me soon. So at any rate, yeah, y'all have a great day, and I appreciate you, and have a wonderful Mother's Day. All right.